Welcome back to Voices from the Valley, where we meet and learn from the movers and the shakers in and around the Merrimack Valley. I am your host, John Bachmann, and with me, as always, is our other host, Ben Tallberg.
Hey, John. What's going on?
You know, just grinding and binding here over at the insurance agency.
Yeah.
So,
got it.
Hey.
What's going on with you?
Well, not too much today, but there was something that I wanted to bring up, and I don't know if we talked so much about this previously, but I made a big change in my life a couple of years ago. I was this big national presence in insurance. How ridiculous it is to say that anyways. But COVID hit. And COVID made me look at my life and reprioritize things.
Sure.
Because I got to the point where I was looking in the mirror and I was not too happy with myself. Mm-hmm. I'm traveling all over the country. I'm speaking at these different insurance conferences. But I got up in the middle of my daughter's dance recital to catch a flight to Cleveland.
Right.
And I missed the end of that recital. I didn't miss any of her dances, but still, it didn't feel right. And my son, I missed one of his flag football games. Yeah. But COVID was that real, I think for a lot of people, it changed our mindset. And we looked at our lives and said, you know what? Am I doing things the right way? Mm-hmm. Should I be changing things up? And that's when I changed my life.
Yeah.
I think I'm not alone in that.
No.
And actually, today we're meeting with somebody who COVID impacted them as well, too. So today we have the pleasure of sitting down with Dawn Sullivan, who's the founder of Declutterize with Dawn. But more important than founder of Declutterize with Dawn is she is the wife to Jim. And she has two wonderful stepchildren, Marley and Jimmy. Dawn, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Ben?
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Nice to meet you.
So excited to be here.
We're so glad that you're a part of this today, too. Yeah. So we're going to learn so much about Declutterize with Dawn. But before we go into that, why don't you tell us the Reader's Digest story of how you got to starting this business?
So I started the business officially 2 years ago in March, this week actually, March 15th.
Wow.
Yep. So during COVID, I was working full-time. I had been in the financial services industry for about 16 years. So, working from home, had tons of stress and anxiety about the unknown, like everyone else did. And I've always kind of been type A and organized, and just kind of my hobby to organize the linen closet or make sure things are decluttered in the living room. And so I found that doing that and keeping my space tidy helped reduce my stress and anxiety. And so I follow on Instagram Grid and Glam. Corinne Morahan she owns her own organizing company out of Boston. She's very successful, and she's also a business coach. So during COVID, I got an email from her saying, hey, if you've ever thought about starting your own home organizing business, I'm running this course, blah, blah, blah. So I signed up for the course, and that was it. I took the course, and it was very, very high level, get your website set up, get your LLC set up, all that fun stuff.
All the basics.
The basics. And so I did it.
So before we dive into that some more, you mentioned that financial services.
Yes.
So stressful. I'm in financial services. Mm-hmm. So what did you do exactly?
I was the director of operations for director of trading and operations for a firm in Bedford, New Hampshire. So I started my career in financial services industry in 2007. I started as a sales assistant for a producer. I lived in upstate New York for 4 years. So that's where my, introduction to that industry came. I was an administrative assistant, and I started as an admin in that firm. Then I got my Series 7, Series 66, did all that fun stuff, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yeah. Familiar. I wouldn't take those tests. No. I'd fail miserably.
That's why you didn't go into that.
Exactly
they
right.
Not easy.
I'm familiar with that. I stayed away from it.
You Can we say fuck?
Well, you just did.
I know.
Yeah,
But
you just
can edit
did, for
that out,
God's
right?
sakes. Well, we just made our explicit rating on Apple Podcasts.
I did see that. I was like, yes.
Did we?
I can drop the F-bomb, right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
But going back to it, so that's
Yep.
a massive change. So
Huge.
financial services,
Yep.
probably making bank, if I'm allowed to say
Yep.
that.
Yep.
And now you're basically taking a huge step back. And again, I took a step back like that too.
Yep.
I know the impact it has financially on my life, but I know the impact it has overall on my life too.
That's it. And I, for years, thought if I could just make this much money, I'll be happy. If I could just have this title, I'll be happy. I'll be where I want to be in my career. And I got all that. And I wasn't happy. So, yeah.
Wow.
So I left 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
Oh, so this
Yeah.
is damn.
So
Well,
the business is 2 years old, but I was just working it part-time and doing my full-time job. So on the weekends and at nights, I was, trying to get clients and organizing on my off hours. So I finally gave my notice and just said, that's it.
I'm starting to think this podcast could be a way for people to give their notice. Hey, listen to this episode. And by the way, I'm doing my own venture now.
Yeah.
Listen.
But you hear these stories all the time, right? I would read about people that, were working on Wall Street, making, a hell of a lot more money than I was making, and it was just like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. This is not what I just didn't love it anymore, is basically what it came down to. I did not love it anymore.
So you're trying to do what you love, if possible,
Right.
And then it's not work.
Right. Exactly.
Now, how big do you want to get? My next question is,
Yeah.
how big do you want to get, and what are you prepared to do to get there?
So I have a number in my mind as far as like revenue. Like my goal this year is to bring in 50,000 revenue, which is top line. That's not obviously what I'm going to be
Right.
making, right? Getting, right?
Right,
Because
right.
then there's expenses and everything like that. I would like to probably at some point hire someone else, so I'm not always the one on jobs. I worry about like physically what that will do to my body. So I want to get to the point where I'm having consistent work and then kind of reach out and look for someone to hire. Because I also want to do digital offerings and, diversify my revenue stream. I don't want it to just be me in someone's home all the time.
What do you mean by digital offerings?
So I'm thinking, like an online membership. There's a lot of other organizers have done that, or online classes where people pay, it's a lower price point than it would be if I'm in your home actually doing all the organizing.
Oh, so you're teaching them on how to organize themselves.
Right, exactly.
No
so,
thanks.
Yeah.
No thanks.
No.
I want to get back to what she was.
I know I should pick up that, but I'm not gonna.
Well, the thing that blew my mind when she was introducing herself to us, Ben, she turned around and said, what reduces her stress was organizing. I'm thinking, shit, I have to go downstairs and organize that workroom. It ain't happening. Just thinking about it stresses me out.
So it sounds like you're gonna have to be a therapist of some sort to get people's mentality changed.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not just physically hanging shirts into a closet. and
No, it is
rearranging.
not. It's a lot of mental. It really is. It's funny you say that, though, because my husband, he'll come home and I'm like scrubbing the oven. He's like, oh, shit, what happened? You had a bad day. Do you want to talk about it? You're in the zone. Who pissed you off? What are you worried about? So, yeah.
Jesus, they're all the same, Ben.
Hey, I know your wife. Don't.
Yeah, I did find out that you.
Yes.
At first, I was like, "Hey, look at this, Ben. We're making a name for ourselves." And then it turns out my wife knows Dawn, so
Right.
I didn't feel as good at that time. I still feel great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I'm great that I'm grateful that she shared it. Otherwise, right? That's
Yeah.
the power of social media. That's the good side to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, starting this new business, it's a big venture. Obviously, you're talking about what's involved in it.
Yep.
what are some of the struggles you're facing from LLC and website setup to getting those clients and getting you to the 50K revenue?
Yep. So, getting the clients is probably the hardest thing. Well, let me back up. I think the hardest thing for me is getting out of my head and not listening to all the self-doubt and just saying, like, let's just do it. You need to do it. Like, I've already taken that step to give my notice and leave
That's hard.
the safety net of a consistent paycheck. So I guess it's the worry of how am I going to get clients? Am I going to have enough clients? So right now I'm advertising on Google. I get 99% of my business from Google ads.
From Google AdWords?
Yes.
Really?
So if you type in, go to Google and say professional organizers near me, I'm one of the first ones that pop up because I'm paying for that visibility, I guess. But it's expensive.
It absolutely is.
So I'm hoping with, like I said, joining the BNI group and doing this, kind of getting more word of mouth referrals, so I'm not having to pay Google,
And referral marketing too. So Ben and I, we met in a BNI group as well. You're joining one or just joined one north of the border in New Hampshire.
Hopefully joining one. I've submitted my application, so I think I'll have the interview this week. Yeah. So
do what's right, BNI group. Just accept that membership for God's sakes. But that referral marketing, let's talk a little bit about that. I've seen in my business, it's the most powerful type of new client you can get or new prospect you can get. It's already warm.
Right.
You're relying upon the reputation of the other person. And some of my partners that, for the most part, it's something like some crazy close rate of like 70 to 90%, which is ludicrous in my business. Where most other, maybe it's 10 or 20%, depending on the other prospects. So, referral marketing is something you're going after. That's awesome. You're using the Google words, but it's expensive. Where else are you finding clients?
I'm trying to do, I have a small following on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and then just kind of, again, word of mouth. I did a job in East Boston in December, and she actually bought one of her friends a gift card for my services. So that was nice. That's like the best compliment, right? Family members, friends.
How wide is you said East Boston. How far is your
ideal?
Area?
Ideal.
Yeah, well, that's
ideal. Yeah. So
ideal?
right now I'll do an hour outside of Londonderry. Ideally, I would like it to be maybe a half hour because it is a lot of time, and I offer a free consultation. So if I'm traveling, again, an hour to drive to the consultation, it's about an hour consultation. That's an hour home. That's 3 hours, right? That I'm not getting paid. But again, these are the steps you need to do to generate that to generate the revenue. You know,
you have to get your name out there.
You
have to do what you have to do,
right,
to do that.
And I don't want to turn down a job just because of location, but I also have to make it make sense for me.
It's hard to say no at this point, especially when you say you're grinding for clients right now.
Right.
You never want to turn cash away.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
But when it's just you, you have the power to say that's not going to work for me, or I don't think it's worth my time. Some people can be very difficult.
Yeah.
And there's been a few where I'm just like, it's not a good fit. I'm sorry.
That's very. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just going to ask, what's the ideal client, though? I mean, shit hanging off the ceiling fan and stuff everywhere on the
so
wall.
I am not.
I'm coming back for this one, baby. Or, what's the ideal?
Yeah, so my ideal client would be, middle to upper class that can afford the luxury of my services, that see the value in what I do and know that by hiring me, their investment in me will be worth it. I mean, I'll save them time. I'll save them money. I will reduce their stress. I'll give them time back in their day to do what they want, what they want to do, right? You're busy parents, your kids are in a lot of different activities, and you just don't have the time or want to take the time to do that. You'd rather be doing something else.
Right.
I am not certified to work with hoarders. I've had a few people call and ask. I'm not. There are people that are actually certified to be in that type of environment. Sure. I am not.
Where does declutterizing and organizing stop and house cleaning starts? Like, there's got to be some of that, like, okay, you walk into a client's spot and John, here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to pick up this, and this, and I'm going to arrange it, but all the trash and whatever else. So where does it start and stop?
Right. So that's a good question. And I'm actually joining forces with another business owner, Jessica Pounds from Polished Housekeepers, to where she says, she's going in and cleaning houses, and they want her to organize, or she's like, I don't know where your stuff goes, right? And it's the same for me. I'll go in and organize your kitchen, but I'm not going to scrub your stove. So what I do when I'm on a job, if there's trash in the area that I'm working on, obviously, pick that up, get rid of it, because the first step is purging. So if I'm doing a kitchen, it's like we take everything out of the cabinets. Okay, this is expired. What's going in the trash? What can be donated? So I'll do a light cleaning of the area that I'm organizing. I'll wipe down some counters. If I'm under a cabinet, I'll wipe that down, but I'm not scrubbing your toilet or any of that.
It ain't happening,
no,
Ben. You tried.
All right.
But going back to the ideal client deal, is the ideal client a one and done, or are you going back multiple times too?
So I am working on doing a recurring service, like a refresher service. Right now it's been one and done. Well, one space and done. I've had a few clients where I've gone back and done multiple spaces for them. I'll start in the kitchen, and then they want me to do the toy room downstairs or their basement. But I'm working on coming up with a refresher system, if you will, like quarterly, me going back in the space and just kind of putting things back where they belong. And it wouldn't be like a full organizing, but just kind of resetting it.
Yeah. Recurring revenue, though. That's what I'm hearing.
Revenue, yes,
that's what I'm
exactly.
hearing.
Yeah.
And along those lines, I want to give some advice that I missed the chance earlier. You were talking about traveling so far for those free consultations. Could still keep it free. What about doing them online?
Yep.
Zoom meetings. Do you do that now?
I've done a few that way. There was one woman who was, I don't know, she was like 2 hours away, and it was her idea. I'm like, that would be fabulous. But that's one of the other things, there's so many ideas in my mind, doing like a virtual consultation, keeping it free, but then also having the option of it being paid, where the client would do it themselves, do the organizing and declutterizing themselves with my coaching. And, then I would send them, a checklist of how, like, the process that I do, and then also send them a list of recommended products, bins that work best for towels, stuff like that. Yeah. So again, trying to diversify the revenue.
And be sure to ask for the question of take pictures of that closet too, that you just didn't shove all the rest of the shit back there.
And everything goes in there.
Yeah. Well, and giving them some accountability, but again, it's a lower price point for them, and it's more accessible.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. It's cool having a coach. Somebody go, hey, all right, show me. I'm assuming you got a phone and that they're taking camera shots and stuff, and you're like, hey, all right, walk over to the closet, open it, show it to me.
Right. When's the last time you wore that sweatshirt?
Yeah. Oh.
Never. Throw it away.
Right. Shoes.
Yep. Donate.
Shoes.
Yep.
No. That's a good idea too. Giving suggestions what to do with this stuff, because it's like I look at all of our crap and it's like, what do we do with this? It's still in great condition. What do we do with this? So.
Well, you can donate it if you're not using it. A lot of people just get so overwhelmed they don't know where to start. That's what I hear all the time. I could do it myself. I don't know where to start. So that's where I come in.
Well, it's kind of like starting your own business.
Yep.
I could start my own business, but I don't know where to start. So good for you for taking that first step. I do have one more quick follow-up question. Insurance. One of them is you're leaving this secure job having insurance. And I'll let you know why I bring that up is because that was the conversation my wife and I had when we were doing our automotive business, and she had a secure job, and it was like, I need more help. And one of the biggest things was she had the health insurance and switching that out. So A, I don't know if that's a concern for you or was or whatever else. And it's a big concern. And B, do you have insurance for the business too when you walk in a client's house?
Yep. So I knew this was going to come up.
And I didn't even ask the question.
I thought it was going to come from him.
I coached him well. Yeah,
baby.
So fortunately, my husband's employer provides our health insurance. So it's obviously a huge consideration. That's like one of the first things you think about, right, when you're leaving your job. So fortunately, his company carries the benefits. I have received a few quotes for liability insurance for my business.
Dun, dun, dun.
I have not pulled the trigger on them. I'm going to do that today when I get home. That's yeah.
Check that one off the list.
Check that one off the list. That is
things to do.
That is one of my goals for the year was to get that.
Because the thought is like, you come into somebody's house. I mean, we work on vehicles every day, and if we screw something up, it's like, oh my God. So everything is how you do it and how you carry yourself, and something tips off the table as you're trying to put it together. Hopefully most things you can, pay for right there. But I'm sure if you're doing declutterizing for the upper class
there's
society,
some
expensive stuff.
Expensive items. Yeah. I mean, I was just doing a kitchen the other day, and I reached behind a jar and I pulled my arm out, and there was a jar in front of that almost fell. Thankfully, I had like ninja reflexes that day and caught it, but I don't always, I mean, I drop shit all the time. Right. So if something breaks, of course, that's on me to replace it. So I do have to I got the quote from, I think it's Philadelphia Insurance.
Philadelphia is an insurance company. They do a lot of commercial work.
Okay. Yep. But apparently they have experience in the professional organizer space. So that's how I found out about them.
So you spoke to them directly? Or through their website? Yeah,
through their website. I submitted
See that, Ben? Another person not dealing with a local independent agent. But we'll talk after this.
Okay. Well, no, honestly, if that's something you could help me with, that would be amazing, because it is something that I need to get done.
Yeah, and to any potential clients, no need to fret. It's not like the tree service that's out back, and you need to make sure they're insured and bonded. With Dawn's, and here we go with insurance speak, risk profile, it probably isn't as urgent as that tree guy. So don't feel as though you can't go to Dawn right away and sign up with her for her services.
Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. I aim to please. One thing I wanted to talk about, and probably challenges with clients and acquiring those clients. How do you deal with those spouses that are like, this is shit we can just do on our own? Why do we need to pay somebody to do what we should be doing? How do you deal with that?
I take it as a case-by-case basis. I've had a lot of people reach out to me and say, my spouse is a slob and I am not, or vice versa. And sometimes I don't hear back from those people because they are not on the same page. So it is difficult. I haven't had too many I really haven't had any where people are like, get out of my house. I can't, I'm not paying you. I have had a few where the wife would be like, oh, hey, hon, what do you think about this? With me standing, I mean, they know I'm coming, right? They know why I'm there. And then I kind of get their idea of what they want and what they're looking for. And the husband will say, well, I think X, Y, and Z should go in the garage. And then the wife will say, well, no, I don't think so. And then the husband's like, okay. I'm out. This
now
is
you're a
thing.
Marriage counselor
yes,
too.
Exactly.
Wow. No
exactly.
thanks.
So that it's not easy to do that dance with people. It's just I kind of let them try to hash it out, and then I'll just kind of step in and say, well, you know, why do you want that there, or why don't you want that there, and just try to coach them into, you know, yeah, I can't counsel you guys on your marriage.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Why is a powerful tool, though.
Right.
For any business out there, just ask why and keep digging for that real root cause, because it will come out too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But 99% of the time, the women win
Yep.
the argument. You guys know that, right?
Yep. I have no arguments there. Nope.
I feel like, the wife is the one who's going to make the call in the first place. Because the male is like, well, we can do that, or, you know, assuming it's a husband and wife, obviously.
But I've had it on the flip side where it's the wife isn't as organized, and it's like, oh, my husband's going to love that. Oh, my husband's going to freak. My husband's going to love this. If it were up to my husband, you'd organize every space in the house, you know. But again, if they're not on the same page, you can't make them be on the same page.
Right. Do you ever walk in there and just give some suggestions, just hoping that, okay, you'll see my value in a second? I mean, is that how you kind of approach things?
So my free consultation, I really don't give suggestions.
Smart.
Because we all know where that's going, right?
Right.
Yep. I give suggestions and product recommendations.
Okay.
And then
We'll see you, Dawn.
Yep.
We'll call you.
I'll never hear from you again. Yep. Done that. Been there,
Smart.
done that. Learned that the hard way. So it's more of just getting to know them face to face, looking at their space and really figuring out where they need help. I take pictures, I take measurements of their space so I can recommend product, and then from there I send them a proposal, and it's just like 2 line items. This is my labor cost. This is how much you can expect to pay in product. I don't really tell them what the product is. Sometimes if it's a bigger ticket item, I will send like a screenshot, like, this is what I had in mind. Is this what you're thinking too? You know, if they're going to spend like $200-300 on a bookcase, I want to, I would want to see it too, because I buy everything up front and then they reimburse me.
Have you ever got stuck when you've purchased something?
I have not.
Good.
I have not, thank God. And most everything can be returned at this point, but no, I haven't yet.
Okay, well, that's
not to say
that's
it won't
a win.
happen.
That's a big win.
Yeah.
I did have a quick. I know it's fairly early on, and really early on with this being the full-time gig right now. But is there anything that you've learned out of the gate right now that you're like, God, I wish I knew this 2 years ago when I started, or 2 weeks ago when I did this full time?
That's a good one. I don't know. I mean, just, I guess it doesn't happen overnight. Right. And I knew it wasn't going to, but you follow other people on Instagram, or you hear other people's stories, and it's like, oh, it just blew up overnight. It's like, no, it fucking didn't.
That's not reality.
Yeah. No. It maybe. I mean, if you're like Justin Bieber and you were discovered on YouTube. Yeah. But
we got the Bieber fever now.
The Bieber fever. I guess, just not getting caught up in the comparison game. And
great advice.
Yep.
Really cheering other people on, and there's a huge pro organizers community, and they're wonderful and very helpful and very supportive, but sometimes I look at what they've achieved in such a short amount of time. It's like, oh, okay. But I mean, I'm happy for them, but then you kind of think, what am I doing wrong? But nothing. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just doing it my way, right?
And we don't know their full story behind the scenes, their resources, station, whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. We don't know.
Right. So,
we've got a group for the automotive industry, and it's I have a coach, finally. Mm-hmm. At first, we needed a coach, but I couldn't afford it, and we're just bootstrapping everything. Mm-hmm. Now I'm a part of this tribe where we meet every week on Zoom, and some of these shops are 4 times bigger than I am, 5 times. Yep. And I see their sales, and it's like, wow. I don't see their expenses. I'm sure those are just as impressive as their sales are.
Right, exactly.
First of all. But second of all, one of the things that's over and over and over is said is, listen, I might have more zeros, than you do, but our problems are just as big.
Yeah.
And our problems are much, much bigger with the more zeros that we have. And just keeping myself going. I'm competing against myself,
That's
not
right.
everybody else.
Right.
It's very important.
It is. More money, more problems, right?
I was thinking that one too, but then when you said competing against yourself, there's a song that a buddy of mine who runs an insurance podcast, he used to start all of them, and it's a rapper called Pro Leader. I think he's out of Paris, but he takes, this is a long explanation for just this one quote, by the way.
Wrap it up.
Yeah, we're trying. He takes like old 1920s music and he pulls in rap, and it's cool music. But one of the lines is, "My only competition is me from yesterday."
That's right.
That's
Yep.
our only competition is ourselves. So, and it's tough to recognize that, and even to see in 2 weeks how much have you grown. Hey, hell, you've been on your first podcast.
I know.
now,
This
too.
is so exciting.
Congrats.
Yeah. Well, one of my fears has always been like speaking in front of people. And when I met Jessica and she said, come to the BNI group, and I said, I have to get up and talk in front of people. She's like, Dawn, you own a business. Yeah,
Yep.
you have to.
Yeah.
Get that elevator pitch going.
I'm like, all right, she's right. Otherwise, right? And it's so cliche. Like, if you don't get out of your comfort zone, you're not going to grow. But it's true. It's so fucking true. And I hate that it's true, because I would be the one like rolling my eyes at those memes. You know, it's like, why can't I just stay where I want to stay?
But you know that you nailed it. And when people talk about tradespeople, when they talk about being, I don't want to be a part of that. I can't talk. No better place can you learn than week after week after week. You got to tell the same story over and over again. All of a sudden, it becomes comfortable.
Right. It does.
Like Ben, how long have you been in the networking group?
5 years.
5 years.
Something like that.
And when I see him speak, it's like he's been doing it for 100 years, and he still says he's nervous.
It's so hard. Yeah.
I don't get it.
I literally was going to the first few BNI groups, and I'd be driving there thinking of excuses to turn around and just go to work where it's safe.
Right.
So much safer.
Yep.
But nope, I kept going, and I showed up, and I showed up, and I showed up. So just show up.
Just show up. Yep.
Not only with that, but in life, everything you do, just show up.
Yeah, it's so true. And I just kind of told myself, like, this is no big deal, right? You're just talking about your business. It's no big deal. Because if I tell myself it's a big deal, then I wouldn't have showed up.
Yeah.
I would not have gone.
It's going to be huge. It's going to be
I
huge.
hope so.
BNI is
Huge.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
And having just starting out, that's awesome. Good
Yeah.
for you.
It really
Very
is.
excited.
And just real quick to go back to that is, I wrote this in my book, plug for the book. The actions you take and the inactions you don't take are what makes you you.
Yep.
I actually just told that to my daughter last night too, about some choices she was making. You came here today where you could have gone, shit, I'm awfully nervous. I don't want to talk about my business. Turn around. But you're going to look back at this a year from now and be like, wow, I got this many clients.
Right.
Because I was speaking about my business. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Well, I think that one of the big things, too, is also having goals. So as far as goals, I know I mentioned at the very beginning, how big do you want to get here? Do you see yourself having more than 4 employees, more than 10? Do you want multiple? Do you want to franchise this out?
Oh,
or
boy.
I know it's very early. But
It is very early. I haven't really thought about it, honestly. Because I think about that, like, getting bigger, then you have bigger expenses, more stress, and it's a fine line, right? Like, you're self-employed, you want some of that freedom. I do not want to be working 80 hours a week. Excuse me. You know, that's not why I'm doing this. So, I guess I want to be as big as I need to be to have that consistent flow of revenue, but being comfortable with, not being on all the time.
I love
if that
it.
makes sense.
I love it. Have you read the book or listened to The E-Myth? The E-Myth by Michael Gerber.
No.
I'm going to suggest that one.
Okay.
It is it actually blew me away, John. When I don't want to hack up the book because I will.
Okay.
But the point of it is basically having your hobby that you love and then forming a business around it and finding out that hobby that you loved, it became work and a lot of work. And now all of a sudden you're not doing that thing that you love because now you're doing QuickBooks and you're doing B&I marketing and you're doing estimates and you're driving all over. Like you have 7 estimates for the day. You're no longer declutterizing and making things. So
Right.
E-Myth. It's amazing. It's a
I'll check
great
it out.
book that just blew me away.
We'll have a link to that in the show
Yeah.
notes too.
It's
Because
important.
I'm curious about that one.
It's a good one. And having focus, though. Let's have focus. If you want to continue doing the declutterizing, and that's what you want to do, then you hire the right people
Right.
all around you
Yep.
to keep it going.
Yep.
So.
Exactly. Yep.
So we like to kind of, I won't say wrap up because we still have a few other questions as well. But Dawn, what's your legacy? Personally, professionally, what do you want people to look back and go, that was Dawn, and this is her story?
Oh, wow. I haven't really thought about that. I don't know. Just remember me for who I am. Just that I was fun and spunky and salty and all the things, I guess. I don't know.
We're picking up on that, too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you
Last
okay?
half hour, 45 minutes. The F-bombs.
Her biggest
Sorry,
concern
Mom.
was, can I say the F word? That was the big concern.
That's the legacy Dawn is leaving behind.
Yeah. A big F-bomb.
Yeah. A big F-bomb to all of you out there. No. Kind of the same vein. Who have you looked up to as coaches, leaders, mentors to you that have got you to where you are right now?
Whew, so many, I guess. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I have to shout out to my parents. That they just have always been hard workers and, you know, my biggest cheerleaders and fans. And, you know, my family, my husband and Marley and Jimmy, they were always very supportive. But I did mention Corinne earlier, and I'll give her another shout out from Grit and Glam. She's like, you know, she's like the organizing queen. To me, she's like a celebrity. I've never actually met her, and hopefully I will someday. But I don't know. I just feel like she kind of just did her thing and made it happen, and is very big on mindset and positive mindset and women empowerment and all the things. So, you know, but there's more. I mean, I listen to, I love Mel Robbins, her podcast. Yeah, I don't know if there's really just, I don't know if I have an idol, I guess. Is that what you're asking? I don't know. Sorry.
No. Mel Robbins, my brother-in-law, was actually on an episode of her show.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
We'll
cool.
talk about that
Okay.
offline a little.
Okay.
Yeah. Ben, do you have anything more for Dawn?
I do not. I do not have
Awesome.
the list in front of me either. I
Oh.
apologize.
We actually went much more
We
than
went-
our typical list.
We
too.
went
Just-
astray from the list
did.
of questions.
But-
I had a bunch of questions, but you've answered all of them
Okay.
for the most part. So
Cool.
the hoarding thing, I'm interested in that, of course. But it makes sense that it's way bigger than just organizing.
It is. I mean, that's, I'm not a doctor,
Right.
but I believe it is a mental and medical
Sure.
condition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, there's more going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Dawn,
Mm-hmm.
what's the best way for people to get in touch with you, whether it's future clients or people that want to learn from you?
Yep. So best way would be go to my website, which is declutterizewithdawn.com. Fill out the form that's on just about every page of my website, and enter your information, and I'll be in touch. Could set up a time to talk real quick and go from there.
We'll link that up. We'll link up your Instagrams as well,
Perfect.
too, and all of that. And Ben, I think this was an awesome interview.
It was great. Is there anything else you want to add to it?
I don't think so. I'm just so happy to be here. Thank you for your time, really.
Thank you
It's
for
been very
for
enjoyable.
stopping in.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was really nice to meet you.
you
Yeah.
too.
Awesome.
All right.
All right, Ben, that was a fantastic interview with Dawn Sullivan of Declutterize with Dawn.
Yeah.
Learned so much about that new business,
Yeah.
man. She's rocking and rolling.
Yeah, she is. I think she's going to go far. I'm pretty excited about that. There's a lot of things to consider when you're just starting out, though, doing these things. And if you don't mind,
Yeah.
do you mind going back to that just having insurance. Like if I was going to walk into somebody's house and make a window in the wall, and I'm a carpenter and I'm just starting my business, what kind of insurance am I looking at? Because there's plenty of hacks out there that could do weird stuff. And I would think that's a consideration for a homeowner too. It's actually something that would be fantastic maybe for my website. I could put on there fully insured, nothing to worry about. Any thoughts on that?
It's a tricky one because every business is so different. But you brought it up in the interview about going inside somebody's home. There's a bigger risk there. Yes, absolutely. But a lot of people think when they first get starting out with any kind of business, they always hear, I need general liability. General liability, that's going to cover me for everything. And well, it is a good start. It doesn't cover you for everything. So general liability is coverage for your normal course of business. That just during the operation of at the shop, somebody walks in the front door, trips over the threshold, or you walk up and slap somebody on the back, but it turns out they're very fragile and you injure them. That is general liability, the property damage and the bodily injury liability there too. But for some people that are giving a professional service or giving some advice, that's not covered. So me as an insurance agent, if I'm telling you, Ben, this is the best insurance policy for you and your business, but it's not, and something really bad happens to you, my liability insurance does not cover me for that. I need something that's called professional liability or errors and omissions. That's anybody that's providing advice or professional services, those types of things. And then contractors, that's a completely different animal. There may be professional liability and errors and omissions on that side. They call it contractors E&O. You also need the general liability, but we can go on and on about this, but it is very important for anybody like Dawn. She should sit down with somebody and say, okay, this is what I'm doing when I go into a home. This is what I'm not doing. And then distinguishing back and forth and going, okay, here's your risk profile. And these are the 2 or 3 policies you need, or you know what, you're probably all set with just having this one and you're good.
Is there a limit? One of those things where it's like, okay, I'm going into multi-million-dollar homes with extremely expensive stuff. Does the insurance company ask that, and now your premiums are higher for something like that? Or is it more just a general?
It tends to be general because it's the risk against your business. Of somebody's coming after you, of you really messed this thing up, or you really hurt somebody, I'm coming after you for all that money. How much are you exposed?
Wow.
So
it's not just the item that broke. It's more like I'm not only that, but I have the hurt value, and it was irreplaceable, and now I'm suing you or whatever.
I don't remember if it was during the interview or after when we were chatting with Dawn. She mentioned something about pulling a canister out, and in the back of my mind, which I kind of wish I brought up too, is, oh, and it was an urn, and you knocked over the urn,
right.
And now Auntie Sue is all over the floor too. Ooh. So that's where my insurance mind goes. Yeah. It goes to those crazy scenarios. That could be a much bigger deal than just a broken jar. So there's a lot that goes into it. Yeah. So it's so important. And it doesn't have to just be me. Any independent agent should be speaking to you about this stuff. So speak to your agent often.
Yeah, because they ask those questions.
Yes.
Are you going into a house that is, I guess,
yeah.
I mean, what are you doing in the house?
And that's the thing. Question. All right, we're going to get up on my soapbox a little bit about the nature of my industry. So right now, everything's about simplify. Simple. Go online, type in a few numbers, and here's a quote. Good luck.
Quick.
That's awesome until it's not awesome. And then you have a claim. And because you filled out the form the way you thought you needed to fill it out, there's a gap in coverage or not enough coverage. That's what concerns me. Speed and ease it's great. However, I joke around about that commercial that's on TV, and a buddy of mine, he tweets about this all the time of 15 minutes can save you 15% or more. Well, I think you're more important than 15 minutes.
Yep.
It takes more than 15 minutes to really understand a family, never mind a business, and all the risk involved there. So
makes sense.
Yeah, it's important to speak to somebody that has seen it in the past. So speaking of talking about things in the past, I don't know if it was last episode or the episode before, I brought up a client talking about a check engine light.
Yep.
So apparently this podcast is a complete jinx, because after I bring that up, what happens in my wife Kristen's car?
Check engine
Light comes on, Ben. And so we drive the Focus over to Ben's shop. They plug it in, and because we know the last time, they don't have all the answers, but you had a pretty good idea of what is kind of going on.
Yeah, it was something to do with the evap system. So evaporative emission system, what the hell is that? And it really comes down to there's gasoline in your vehicle. Some vehicles are electric, some are diesel. In this particular vehicle, when it's gasoline, the gasoline vapors will need to be released from the tank. So when you go to your shed in the summer and you see your 5-gallon container of gasoline and that thing is blown out,
Don't store that in your shed. Homeowner's advice.
Never store that in your shed, because I don't.
Neither do I.
So that's the fuel vapors expanding. Those things that's trying to get out of there. Well, same thing when your vehicle is in the middle of a parking lot. The fuel vapors in your tank are dying to get out, and they're expanding and expanding. So car manufacturers have made this system where there is venting that goes on. Even when you're not even near it, it's not running, it'll literally vent to the atmosphere. But we don't want those vapors just going straight to the atmosphere because it's not good for the environment. So there is a charcoal canister system. So there's a little valve that opens at a certain pressure that's inside there, and it'll vent into the atmosphere. When the vehicle's running, those vapors can be burned through the engine. So it's a cycle that just goes into the engine, gets burned off, and now there's no more pressure in that tank. So the evap system is a pressure release type of system. So when you take your gas cap off, when you're going to get fuel, you'll have that psh type of pressure release. It's all there's that pressure that's in there, and there should be a certain amount to help with this system. So we're in New England in this area, so some of those valves get stuck and sticky, so they might stay open, and that can trigger a check engine light.
Yeah, I'm so glad I brought it up that last episode.
Yeah.
I'm glad I can continue to fund Amesbury Foreign Auto. The Bachmann family.
You're welcome.
Is kind supporters of AFA.
You're welcome. Well, thanks for asking that question.
Yeah.
What else do you want to talk about?
What should I screw up next week? So
you want to talk about your engine and internals?
Nope. We're gonna walk from now on. Yeah. But getting back to Dawn Sullivan, great episode with her.
Yeah, I really wish her well. I think she's going to do great.
I think she's going to kill it, man. Declutterize with Dawn. Be sure to check her out. Her information is going to be in the show notes. Other than that, I say we just leave it right there.
Yeah, buddy.
All right. See you all next time.
Bye-bye.
This has been another episode of Voices from the Valley. If you'd like to be a guest or know someone that would be a great guest, send us an email at voicesfromthevalley@gmail.com. Want to learn more about Ben Tallberg and Amesbury Foreign Auto? Head over to amesburyforeignauto.com or call 978-388-5959. Want to learn more about John Bachmann and Norwood Insurance Agency? Head over to norwoodinsurance.com or call 978-372-5921. Thanks for tuning in to Voices from the Valley.